5 YouTubers. 5 harrowing stories that turned creativity into catastrophe. In the relentless chase for views and fame, some pushed boundaries too far, with devastating consequences they never saw coming. From stunts that ended in heartbreak to final moments caught on camera, these tragedies expose the haunting cost of chasing viral glory. What compels someone to risk everything for the spotlight? Here are 5 of the most disturbing cases where filming cost YouTubers their lives, leaving behind chilling lessons for us all. Timothy Treadwell, famously known as the Grizzly Man, was someone who loved bears so much that he dedicated his life to living among them in the wild. But his fascination with these powerful creatures ultimately led to his horrifying death, along with his girlfriend, Amy Huguenard. The details of their final moments, captured in an audio recording, paint a chilling picture of their last minutes alive. Timothy's obsession with grizzlies started when he was a kid. He loved camping trips with his family in Alaska, where he'd see these massive animals up close. Over time, that fascination turned into an obsession. Every summer, Timothy packed up and headed to Alaska's Katmai National Park, where he'd live among the bears for months. He believed he had a special bond with them and often got dangerously close, even touching them. While his unique approach earned him some fans, it also raised a lot of eyebrows. Many warned him he was playing with fire. But Timothy didn't listen. He was convinced he could live safely among the bears, and even protect them from poachers and harm. This belief drove him to keep returning, despite the obvious risks. In 2003, his girlfriend Amy joined him on what would become their last trip. The couple had planned to head home on a seaplane, but just hours before their scheduled flight, disaster struck. A bear attacked them at their campsite, and the terrifying encounter was caught on tape. Although the camera lens cap stayed on, the audio recorded 6 agonizing minutes of their struggle. The recording starts with Amy nervously asking if the bear is still outside. Timothy's voice, panicked and desperate, yells, "Get out here! I'm getting killed out here!" You can hear the tent zipper as Amy rushes out, shouting at him to play dead, hoping the bear might lose interest. But things quickly spiraled out of control. Timothy's screams are gut-wrenching as the bear seems to let go of him for a moment. Amy, trying to help, gets too close, and the bear attacks again. It clamps its jaws around Timothy's head as he cries out for her to hit the bear. Armed with nothing but a frying pan, Amy fights back with everything she has, shouting at Timothy to fight back. Their desperate struggle continues, filled with screams and chaos, until the tape abruptly cuts off. The next morning, their pilot, Willie Fulton, arrived to pick them up. He immediately sensed something was wrong. Instead of seeing Timothy and Amy waiting by the shore as usual, there was silence. Then he spotted a massive, aggressive bear standing over a pile of human remains. It was a horrifying sight he would never forget. When park rangers arrived at the scene, they found the couple's campsite in ruins. The tent was flattened, their gear was torn apart, and even their snacks were untouched. Nearby, they discovered grisly remains, a severed arm, fingers, and Timothy's head. The bears had buried some of the remains in a pile of grass and mud, a behavior typical of predators protecting their food. Timothy's death sparked massive debates. Some argued that his reckless behavior and refusal to follow safety rules not only endangered his life, but also disrupted the natural balance between humans and wildlife. Many felt he overstepped boundaries, turning what could have been a powerful conservation message into a tragedy. Others admired his passion, even if they thought he took it too far. This heartbreaking story is a proof of nature's raw power. While Timothy's love for grizzlies was undeniable, his tragic end shows what can happen when fascination turns into recklessness. Wild animals are just that, wild. They're not meant to be treated like pets or friends, no matter how much we admire them. Though Timothy wanted to protect grizzlies and shed light on their lives, his death, and Amy's, shows the importance of respecting the line between humans and wildlife. Story is haunting, especially the final audio that captured their desperate fight for survival. It's a tale that will always serve as a chilling reminder of the dangers of underestimating the wild. Grant Thompson, known to the world as the King of Random, was the embodiment of boundless curiosity and fearless innovation. With a mind that constantly sought to explore the extraordinary in the everyday, he had a rare gift for transforming the mundane into the mesmerizing. Whether he was experimenting with science, testing DIY stunts, or building makeshift inventions, Grant had a unique way of turning his wild ideas into jaw-dropping reality. For him, life was an ongoing experiment. But on July 30th, 2019, that relentless pursuit of discovery took a tragic turn, and what was meant to be another daring adventure became his final one, leaving a hole in the hearts of millions who had followed his journey. Born on November 21, 1976, in Canada, Grant grew up in a family that encouraged creativity and exploration. His curiosity wasn't confined to just one pursuit. He was a man of many talents. After high school, he trained as a pilot, spending 11 years flying for an airline before transitioning into real estate in 2010. This shift granted him the financial freedom to pursue his true passions: curiosity, adventure, and innovation. And that's when the King of Random was born. Launched in 2010, Grant's YouTube channel quickly exploded in popularity, amassing over 11 million subscribers and billions of views. From life hacks and science experiments to high-octane DIY projects and daring stunts, the King of Random became a global sensation. His infectious enthusiasm and fearless curiosity captivated audiences, making him a household name in the YouTube community. But it wasn't just about the views for Grant. It was about pushing the boundaries of what was possible. And that mindset led him to his final adventure, the one that would ultimately take his life. On July 29, 2019, Grant set off on a solo paragliding trip near Sand Hollow State Park in Utah. The thrill of the sky, the rush of the wind, and the promise of new discoveries beckoned him. But as hours passed and Grant didn't return, something didn't feel right. The man who had always been a master of the unpredictable had become unpredictable himself, and a deep sense of dread began to set in. When he failed to answer calls and didn't make it back as planned, a search began, a search that was heavy with the sense that something had gone terribly wrong. Using GPS data from Grant's phone, authorities pinpointed the crash site. When a rescue helicopter finally reached the location, they found Grant's body near his paragliding equipment. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators later discovered that Grant had been caught in an unexpected updraft, causing him to rapidly lose altitude and crash. A recording device recovered from the wreckage revealed the devastating moments before the crash, but out of respect for Grant and his family, the footage was never released to the public. The news of his death hit the YouTube community like a thunderclap. To honor Grant's legacy, his co-hosts and collaborators established the Grant Thompson Memorial Outward Bound Scholarship, ensuring that his passion for exploration and discovery would continue to inspire generations. Grant Thompson's legacy lives on in every experiment, every video, and every adventure he shared with the world. His tragic death is a painful reminder that even the most daring adventurers aren't invincible, and that sometimes the smallest miscalculation can change everything. In 2016, a trip to Badaling Wildlife Park in Beijing turned into a nightmare for one Chinese family. What started as a routine visit to the popular safari park ended in tragedy when Mrs. Zhao was killed by a tiger while trying to save her daughter, May. The horrifying incident, which unfolded in full view of her family, became a lifelong lesson about the dangers of getting too close to wild animals. It all began with a heated family argument inside their car. May, frustrated and upset, made the fateful decision to step out of the vehicle in an area clearly marked as off-limits. Almost immediately, a Siberian tiger lurking nearby seized the opportunity, clamping its powerful jaws on May and dragging her toward the underbrush. The sheer speed of the attack left her family in shock. In a moment of incredible bravery, Mrs. Zhao jumped out of the car to rescue her daughter. Without hesitation, she ran toward the tiger, trying to fend it off, but as she struggled to save May, another tiger appeared and attacked her. Tragically, Mrs. Zhao was mauled to death, sacrificing her life in an attempt to protect her child. May managed to survive the ordeal, but not without suffering severe, life-altering injuries. The entire incident was captured on CCTV, and the footage is as horrifying as you'd imagine. Park staff rushed to the scene in vehicles, but by the time they arrived, it was too late to save Mrs. Zhao. Her death left her family devastated and the public shaken. The tragedy sparked widespread debate about safety at the wildlife parks. The public questioned why a park with such dangerous animals didn't have more barriers or immediate safeguards in place to prevent visitors from leaving their vehicles. However, others pointed out that the park had clearly posted rules and warnings, and May's decision to exit the car ultimately led to the chain of events. The backlash didn't stop there. May faced public criticism for her actions, with many accusing her of not only endangering herself but also putting her entire family at risk. It was a harsh response to someone who had just survived a terrifying ordeal and lost her mother in the process. Badaling Wildlife Park temporarily closed after the incident to allow for an investigation. Officials reviewed the park's operations and safety measures but ultimately found no fault with its procedures. Despite this, the family pursued legal action against the park, though the outcome of their case didn't change the fact that the tragedy could have been avoided if the park rules had been followed. When the park reopened, it emphasized the importance of safety protocols, asking visitors to remain inside their vehicles at all times, and reinforcing its guidelines to prevent similar incidents in the future. While some saw this as a necessary step, others felt it was a constant reminder of the price one family had paid. Mrs. Zhao's actions were nothing short of heroic, but her death highlights the delicate balance between human fascination with wildlife and the risks that come with it. Safari parks offer a rare chance to see animals like tigers up close, but they also demand a deep respect for the power and unpredictability of these creatures. This heartbreaking story has become a cautionary tale about the consequences of stepping beyond boundaries, both literal and metaphorical. It's a reminder to all of us to take safety warnings seriously, especially in places where wild animals are involved. For Mrs. Zhao's family, the loss was deeply personal, but for the rest of us, it's a sobering lesson in the importance of respecting nature and its untamed beauty. Albert Dyerland was a dreamer with a camera, a 22-year-old bursting with passion and creativity. With his infectious energy, he had a rare ability to turn even the simplest moments into captivating stories that connected with thousands. To Albert, life wasn't about playing it safe. It was about chasing the extraordinary, capturing the beauty in the extremes, and living on the edge. That fearless approach to life took him to the heights of the Italian Alps, where he sought the perfect shot that would leave his audience in awe. But on July 28, 2021, as Albert climbed the towering peak of Mount Siseda, that pursuit of greatness turned into a tragic reminder of the fine line between ambition and danger. Born on September 15, 1998, in the small town of Rus, Denmark, Albert came from humble beginnings, but his dreams were anything but small. From a young age, he was drawn to storytelling, humor, and music. At 18, he took his first steps into the world of YouTube, quickly finding his rhythm with comedic sketches and catchy music videos that captured his playful spirit. By 2018, he was making waves with Albert, a comedy series about his fictional struggles to make a living as a YouTuber. The series won the Blockbuster Audience Award at the 2019 Danish Film Festival, a triumph that solidified his place as a rising star. Albert's fame was growing. His Instagram followers were soaring into the hundreds of thousands, and his YouTube channel had 170,000 subscribers. His hit songs like Emoji, Ula, and Summer racked up millions of views, and his unique, authentic voice resonated with fans worldwide. Albert wasn't just a creator, he was an inspiration, sharing his love for life, music, and adventure with a global audience. But it was the summer of 2021 that would mark the peak of Albert's adventure. one that would take him far higher than he ever imagined. Albert set out to film one of the most breathtaking experiences of his life, a journey to the summit of Mount Saseda in the Italian Alps. For Albert, this wasn't just another adventure. It was a chance to share something truly epic with his fans. He wanted to give them a glimpse of what it felt like to stand at the top of the world, above the clouds, to feel the rush of being alive in nature's rawest form. Mount Saseda, with its dramatic cliffs and sweeping views, was the perfect canvas for Albert's creative vision. Each step of the climb he filmed, eager to capture the stunning beauty of the mountain, wanting to bring his audience along for the ride. He was so close to sharing that magical moment, so close to capturing that breathtaking shot, but in a cruel twist of fate, as Albert stood near the peak, trying to film the perfect angle, disaster struck. He lost his footing, slipping and tumbling more than 650 feet down the treacherous slopes. His friends, who were with him, helplessly watched the horror unfold before their eyes. They immediately called for help, but the rough terrain and harsh conditions made it nearly impossible for rescuers to reach him. When a helicopter finally located Albert's body, it was too late. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The news of Albert's death shattered his fan base and sent waves of grief through the online creator community. Tributes poured in from friends, fans, and collaborators, all mourning the loss of a bright, talented young man who had so much more to give. Albert Derlin's death was a devastating blow, a reminder of how fragile life can be and how quickly it can be taken away. In 2014, a tragic incident unfolded at New Delhi Zoo that shocked onlookers and left many questioning the boundaries of human fascination with wildlife. Maqsood Khan, a 22-year-old man, fell victim to his intense obsession with tigers, a fascination that ultimately cost him his life in a way both chilling and unforgettable. Maqsood's ill-fated encounter occurred in the tiger enclosure of the zoo, home to Vijay, a 7-year-old white tiger belonging to an endangered species. On that fateful day, Maqsood climbed over the enclosure barrier and into the moat below, putting himself directly in the path of the predator. Visitors watched in stunned silence as Maqsood came face-to-face with Vijay in what could only be described as a terrifying standoff. For nearly 15 minutes, Vijay observed Maqsood, seemingly unsure of his intentions. Onlookers, frozen in fear, could do nothing but watch as the scene unfolded. Some filmed the encounter, capturing the unsettling calm before the tragedy. Despite the apparent stillness, the situation grew increasingly dire. A few members of the crowd attempted to distract the tiger by shouting and throwing stones, but their efforts only added tension to an already precarious moment. As the minutes ticked by, the fragile balance was shattered. Vijay lunged, grabbing Maqsood by the neck and dragging him deeper into the enclosure. Screams erupted from the crowd as the horrific scene played out before their eyes. Witnesses later described their helplessness, one recalling the gruesome sight of Maqsood writhing badly in pain as he was mauled by the powerful animal. Panic spread through the zoo as authorities scrambled to respond. The rescue effort was complicated by Vijay's behavior, as the tiger fiercely guarded its territory and prey. It took 2 long hours for zoo staff to coax Vijay into a smaller holding cage, allowing them to retrieve Maqsood's remains. By then, it was too late. The injuries sustained during the attack were fatal. The incident sparked widespread debate and media attention, with many questioning the events leading up to the attack. Speculation arose about whether Maqsood had intentionally entered the enclosure or had fallen by accident. Some reports suggested he had been mentally unwell, while others pointed to negligence in the zoo's security measures. People were quick to point fingers after the tragedy, blaming the zoo for not having better barriers and emergency plans in place. Many believed that Maqsood's death could have been avoided if stricter safety measures had been in place. Others raised bigger questions, like whether it's even fair to keep such majestic creatures in captivity, especially in enclosures that don't come close to mimicking their natural homes. Animal rights activists were also vocal, saying VJ wasn't being cruel or aggressive. It was just acting on instinct, doing what tigers naturally do when they feel threatened or territorial. Maqsood's death became a reminder of what can happen when humans ignore the boundaries between themselves and wild animals. Zoos might be designed to teach us about the wonders of nature, but this tragic incident showed just how important it is to respect the power of wildlife. The sight of a white tiger, so beautiful yet so dangerous, left a lasting impression on everyone who saw the horrifying event. Afterward, the zoo tightened its safety protocols, putting up stronger barriers and increasing surveillance to avoid anything like this from happening again. Still, Maqsood's story remains unforgettable for those who were there, a warning about how quickly curiosity can turn into catastrophe when we forget the wild isn't something to mess with. Jacob Cockle was a man whose soul belonged to the sea. Born on March 2, 1985, in the quiet coastal town of Penzance, Cornwall, Jacob was the embodiment of adventure. He spent his childhood immersed in the rhythms of the ocean, chasing waves, feeling the salt in his hair, and becoming one with the water. From a young age, the sea was his playground, and it was here that he discovered his unbreakable bond with nature. But as Jacob grew older, so did his thirst for pushing boundaries. The thrill of the unknown called to him, and it wasn't long before his fearless spirit led him down a path where the line between thrill and danger blurred, until it ultimately claimed him. Diagnosed with dyslexia at the age of 10, Jacob often found school a struggle. Instead of staying in class, he would slip away with friends, hitching rides to the nearby beaches to surf, to swim, to escape. The water became his sanctuary, and his passion for the ocean only deepened. By his teenage years, he was filming extreme stunts and posting them online, quickly amassing millions of views on his YouTube channel. For Jacob, life was one big adventure, and the water was his stage. He was a skilled swimmer, confident in his abilities and always chasing the next extreme challenge that would showcase his talents to the world. But on May 28, 2023, the very sea that had been his greatest ally would become his undoing. That day, Jacob was driven by the same urge that had propelled him through countless adventures: the need to capture something spectacular for his fans. He set his sights on the Karoo Pool, a mysterious and perilous whirlpool in the estuary of the River Hale, Cornwall. Famous for its swirling, dangerous currents, it was a natural wonder Jacob felt compelled to document, no matter the risk. He was joined by his 70-year-old friend David Rain, who shared Jacob's love for the sea, though he couldn't shake the nagging feeling that the water might be too treacherous for them that day. Jacob, however, was unshakable. His confidence in his swimming ability, honed over years of braving the roughest waters, led him to ignore the warning signs. For him, the adventure was all that mattered. So, with the same reckless excitement that had fueled so many of his past stunts, Jacob donned a horse mask, his signature comedic touch, and plunged into the whirlpool's current. At first, the experience was exhilarating. Jacob was tossed and spun by the water, laughing as the current surged around him. But as he ventured deeper into the center of the whirlpool, something shifted. The currents grew more violent, more unpredictable. Jacob, focused on capturing the perfect shot, inched closer to the heart of the whirlpool, ignoring the growing danger around him. The water wasn't just swirling now, it was pulling him in. With a sudden and violent force, Jacob was sucked into the 15-foot deep tunnel of the whirlpool. His body was dragged through the current with terrifying speed. For a fleeting moment, he was tossed out, gasping for air. But then, as if the water had other plans, it pulled him back. And this time, he wasn't spat out. Instead, Jacob was trapped. David, helpless from the shore, watched in horror as his friend was swept away, disappearing beneath the churning water. It was only when Jacob finally emerged, battered and exhausted, that David managed to pull him to safety. But the damage had already been done. A nearby fisherman, witnessing the terrifying scene, called emergency services. Paramedics arrived swiftly, and Jacob was airlifted to the Royal Cornwall Hospital in Truro. Despite all efforts to save him, Jacob's body had endured too much. He was pronounced dead shortly after his arrival. His death is a stark reminder to live boldly, but with caution, for the world is full of wonder, but also of danger. The thrill of the chase is exhilarating, but we must never forget the price that can sometimes come with it. The ocean's vastness has always been a world of mysteries, where exploration often means risking the unknown. This was tragically proven in 2016 when a young surfer named Lance Appleby met his end at the Granites Beach on the Eyre Peninsula. What was supposed to be a peaceful evening surf quickly turned into a horrifying ordeal, one that would end with Lance's life claimed by the very waters he loved. It all began with a simple surf session on the evening of Thursday, January 7th, when Lance, a 28-year-old from Port Lincoln, was out enjoying the waves. The evening had started like any other, with Lance catching waves and soaking up the summer sun. But as the sky dimmed, disaster struck. As Lance paddled back after riding a wave, he was suddenly attacked by a shark. The unprovoked assault came without warning, and in the blink of an eye, Lance was in the grip of the predator. Witnesses recalled the chilling moment. Local resident Jeff Schumacher, a family friend, shared his heartbreaking account of the attack. He caught a wave and flipped off, and then, as he paddled back, he was attacked, Jeff recalled. Amid the chaos, it was clear that Lance had no time to react. A surfboard, found floating nearby, would later reveal a deep bite mark, proof of the shark's forceful strike. Even more disturbing, the rope of the board had been severed, leaving no doubt that the attack was swift and powerful. Emergency services were immediately called, and the search for Lance began just as night fell. But as hours ticked by, the reality of the situation sank in. The search, while extensive, couldn't bring Lance back. His body was never found, and the community was left in shock and grief. As the word of the attack spread, the locals felt the pain deeply. Lance was a familiar face in Port Lincoln, someone known for his bright spirit and love for the ocean. This tragedy hit home for the community, as many had either surfed with him or watched him ride the waves in their hometown. "It just hits everyone so hard, especially the locals," said Jeff, capturing the collective grief of a town left to process the loss of one of their own. Lance had been in the area visiting family for Christmas. He had grown up surfing the waves of the Eyre Peninsula and had recently begun his apprenticeship as a carpenter. In many ways, he was just starting his life, filled with hope and promise. His death, so sudden and violent, left a void that could never be filled. The Granites Beach, known for its rugged beauty and wild surf, is also infamous for shark attacks. This was not the first time the region had seen such a tragedy, but it was the one that hit the hardest. As the community reeled from the attack, conversations about shark safety and awareness resurfaced. While the ocean can be beautiful and tranquil, it also holds dangers that can turn deadly in an instant. In the wake of Lance's death, many began to reflect on the risks that come with living so close to the ocean. Surfing, like many outdoor adventures, carries inherent dangers, and the loss of Lance was a painful reminder of just how quickly things can go wrong. Though it was a tragic end for a young man with a bright future, Lance's memory lives on in Port Lincoln, where the surf and the sea are as much a part of the community as its people. Though no one will ever forget that fateful evening, Lance's spirit lives on in the waves he once rode. His family, friends, and the people of Port Lincoln carry his memory with them, and his story serves as a somber reminder of the power and unpredictability of nature. The sea remains a beautiful and untamable force, both a place of wonder and a reminder of the fragile line between life and death. Apeter was the embodiment of pure joy and unrelenting adventure. Known for his infectious energy and a fearlessness that captivated millions, he wasn't just a YouTuber. He was a man who lived life on his own terms, constantly chasing the thrill of the next big challenge. Whether it was walking across fragile ice, diving into freezing waters, or exploring the stunning wilderness of Norway, Apator invited his audience into his world of wild, unfiltered experiences. With every new stunt, he turned the ordinary into the extraordinary, living each moment like it was his last. But on November 27, 2021, his boundless zest for life would tragically meet an untimely end, as his birthday celebration on the ice turned into a heartbreaking final act. Born on November 22, 1964, in Svord, Norway, Apator, whose real name was Lars, was more than just a man who loved adventure. He was a factory worker who found his greatest joy in sharing his life with the world. His YouTube channel, which boasted over 1.2 million subscribers, was a window into his remarkable life, filled with breathtaking views of Norway's natural beauty and his hilarious, daring antics. Apator wasn't afraid to take risks. His channel was filled with moments of raw authenticity, where he could be seen braving icy waters, scaling treacherous terrain, or simply sharing a moment of peaceful solitude in the great outdoors. On November 27, 2021, as he marked his 57th birthday, Apator's infectious energy was on full display. With a mischievous grin, he kicked off his celebration by running around in his trademark underwear, a playful stunt he had become known for. But the fun didn't stop there. Fueled by his constant need for adventure, Apator decided to take things to the next level. He grabbed a sledgehammer and began smashing into the thick ice of Jacob's Dam, a lake in Kabor, Norway, with the intention of creating a hole where he could take a swim. It was reckless, no doubt, but it was also thrilling. Apator had done similar stunts before, confident in his ability to handle any challenge that came his way. But this time, the ice wasn't strong enough to support his weight. As he climbed out of the hole he had created, disaster struck. The ice cracked beneath him, splintering into pieces and leaving him trapped in the expanding water. In an instant, the joyous birthday celebration turned into a fight for survival. Nearby locals heard the commotion and rushed to help. They found Apator struggling in the freezing water, his body already beginning to succumb to the shock of the cold. Without wasting a second, they pulled him from the lake and rushed him to the nearest hospital in Uval. But the damage was already done. He had been submerged for too long, and despite the doctor's best efforts to save him, Apator tragically passed away the following day. The loss of Apator sent shockwaves through his community of fans, friends, and fellow adventurers. His death serves as a haunting reminder that even the most daring adventurers are not invincible, and that a single moment of miscalculation can lead to a lifetime of regret. A tragic and shocking incident occurred at a safari park in South Africa when a lioness attacked and killed 29-year-old Catherine Chappell, a talented editor from the Game of Thrones TV series. The horrific attack took place at the Lion Park, located about 30 kilometers north of Johannesburg, on a Monday in 2015. Catherine, a passionate traveler from the United States, had been on a safari tour with friends when the terrifying event unfolded. The lioness, with no warning, leaped through an open car window and immediately started mauling Catherine. The assistant manager of the park, Scott Simpson, described the terrifying scene, confirming that the animal swiftly jumped through the window and began attacking her. In the same vehicle, another person, believed to be the tour guide, was also injured during the attack and was later treated for his injuries. The incident has raised concerns about safety protocols at the park, especially since the park's rules clearly warn visitors to keep their windows up while driving through the large cat enclosures. It's a basic safety precaution that sadly wasn't followed during this excursion, leading to the deadly outcome. Catherine Chappell had been part of the Game of Thrones team, contributing her skills to the Emmy-winning episode The Children in 2014. As an editor, she played a pivotal role in shaping the show's compelling storytelling and impressive visuals. Her untimely death left the entertainment world in shock, as fans and colleagues mourned the loss of a talented and driven young woman. The Lion Park, a popular tourist destination known for its large cat enclosures and thrilling safari experiences, was temporarily closed following the attack as an investigation began into the incident. Visitors to the park are reminded of the potential dangers when interacting with wildlife and the importance of following safety guidelines to prevent such tragedies from occurring in the future. This heartbreaking incident also sparked a wider discussion about the risks of wildlife tourism and the boundaries between humans and animals in captivity. While safari parks like the Lion Park offer an incredible chance to see majestic animals up close, they also come with inherent dangers that visitors should never take lightly. Wild animals, even those raised in captivity, still maintain their instinctual behaviors and can be unpredictable, particularly when they feel threatened or provoked. In the wake of the tragedy, many are left to reflect on the fragility of life and the importance of respecting nature's power. Catherine's death, while a heartbreaking accident, serves as a grim reminder of the need for caution when interacting with wild animals, no matter how safe or controlled the environment might seem. As the investigation into the incident continues, it remains a somber moment in the broader conversation about wildlife conservation and human interaction with the animal kingdom. Catherine's legacy, particularly in the Game of Thrones community, will live on through the iconic work she helped bring to life. Her talent and passion for editing continue to inspire others in the film and television industry. While her life was tragically cut short, her impact on the entertainment world is undeniable, and her memory will always be cherished by those who knew her. Pedro Ruiz had a dream: to escape the struggles of his past and build a future filled with fame and fortune. His ticket to that dream? Daring YouTube stunts designed to shock and awe. But on June 26, 2017, one bold idea turned a young couple's ambition into an unimaginable nightmare. Pedro Ruiz had one obsession: viral fame. He craved the spotlight, the likes, and the endless attention that came with it, and he was willing to do anything to get it. Pedro Ruiz, born on April 21, 1996, was no stranger to hardship. His childhood was a constant struggle, each day a battle against the weight of poverty. The hunger for something better burned deep inside him. And that hunger grew stronger when he met Mona Lisa Perez. Mona Lisa had her own YouTube channel, where she captured the beauty of life's simple moments. When Mona Lisa found out she was pregnant, something clicked. It wasn't just about building a family, it was about building a future. Together, they dreamed of creating an online empire, a life where they could leave their struggles behind and build something that would be remembered. But in their quest to turn that dream into reality, they'd soon find out just how far they were willing to go and what it would cost them. Pedro, who often joked that he was borderline crazy, lived for the thrill of adrenaline, the kind of rush that comes from flirting with danger. He craved that feeling of being alive, teetering on the edge of death, convinced that the closer he got to the edge, the more attention he'd get. He wasn't just looking for views, he was chasing immortality, believing that wild stunts would make him unforgettable, elevating his channel. But as his hunger for fame grew, so did the risks. In a haunting twist of fate, Pedro Ruiz seemed to predict his own tragic end in a video he recorded just hours before his death. The stunt was meant to be his big break, a risky, adrenaline-fueled spectacle that would launch his YouTube channel into viral territory. The plan was simple yet deadly. Mona Lisa Perez, his girlfriend, would shoot him in the chest at point-blank range while he held a thick book to protect himself. Pedro had tested the stunt before and, convinced that the book would stop the bullet, believed he could pull it off. With an almost eerie confidence, he trusted that Mona Lisa's aim would be perfect, and that the world would watch in awe as they defied death. What he didn't know was that this reckless moment of glory would be the last one he ever shared with the world. Mona Lisa Perez had tried to stop him, but Pedro Ruiz, fearless and hungry for recognition, saw danger as nothing more than a stepping stone to greatness. On June 26, 2017, he was preparing for what he thought would be his most viral moment yet, an iconic stunt that would cement his place in internet history. Armed with a .50 caliber Desert Eagle and a thick encyclopedia as his only shield, Pedro was convinced the book would protect him. "As long as you don't miss," he told Mona Lisa, his voice steady but masking the weight of the moment. The chilling irony of those words echoed in the air. His only worry was whether Mona Lisa's aim would be perfect. Their young child, along with nearly 30 onlookers, watched in silence as Mona Lisa hesitated for a moment before pulling the trigger. In an instant, the bullet tore through the book, piercing Pedro's chest. The horror of what had just happened hit Mona Lisa like a wave. She scrambled to call 911, her voice shaking as she screamed that she had accidentally shot him. In March 2018, Mona Lisa Perez pled guilty to second-degree manslaughter, and the consequences of that fateful day would haunt her forever. The judge sentenced her to 6 months in prison, a harsh reminder of the irreversible mistake that cost Pedro his life. But even these punishments couldn't undo the pain of losing Pedro, of forever carrying the burden of a decision she could never take back. As for the video of that tragic moment, it's now considered lost media, a chilling relic of the dangers that come with chasing viral fame. It's a stark reminder of just how far people will go for a fleeting moment in the spotlight, and how a single, reckless decision can shatter lives forever.